82 points from Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, and Kelly Oubre. The Knicks were able to hold off the Sixers last night thanks to some clutch shooting from Jalen Brunson. Philly has now lost 9 straight. Amid the struggles, Paul George made an announcement about refocusing his priorities before the game. Paul?
I want to let the Podcast P family know that after today's episode with Dwight, I plan to take a break from the pod just to focus on getting my body right, getting mentally right, and, help this squad make a push towards our goal to finish the season out, give ourselves a chance to be in contentions to compete for a championship.
All right, so announcement there from Podcast Pete. Rudy, what do you think of that from Paul George?
I think he needs to do whatever he needs to do to play better. Right at this point, I think we all know we've talked about contenders, and they're not one of them. So I think whatever he needs to do to get his body right to do it. But I think it's more about people asking about Embiid on there than anything.
Yeah,
that might be it. I don't know, but whatever he needs to do, whatever he says, I'm with him. But we're not talking about contenders this year. So let's get a jump on next year. That's the biggest thing with this whole situation.
Rudy, Paul George is one of my favorite people in all of professional sports. He's one of the greatest people I've ever covered, just as a decent, beautiful human being. I think this statement by him was not wise. And Rudy and I say this to both of you because I worked in Philadelphia for 17 years. So I know the city, and I know how they're receiving it. I'm not saying me. I know because I know him. I know how they're saying it. What they're taking from his words is, now you need to prioritize. Now you need to get ready.
Yeah.
Right.
What the hell were you doing before you got here? Again, the way he worded it, it's like it's not his fault. I'm sure he didn't mean it that way, but that's how they're taking it. So you weren't ready. So you weren't ready to go. So you weren't focused. So you weren't dedicated. You see, that's the danger with what he said. If I were him, I wouldn't have said that. What I would do is I'd have sat down for the rest of the year because the Sixers are trash. They're horrible. They're awful, primarily because of the health of Joel Embiid. Without him, you're not going anywhere anyway. And as a result, if you're Paul George, you're only putting yourself and taxing stuff from your body that you don't need to be taxing. You got 3 years to go on a max 212 deal, okay? Prioritize the next 3 years. This season is done. You ain't winning a damn thing. You ain't getting nothing out of this season. Go home, get yourself right, and be ready for next season.
I think the exact opposite. I think he needs to go out there. He needs to play with those guys, get a good feel on how to play, and Embiid will be out. I think Maxey is there for the future. I think he needs to play. He needs to play and become
Rudy,
the Paul George we know.
He turns 35. He turns 35 in May, bro.
Here. That's what we do.
No.
That's what we do.
Wait. He got to be ready for the next 3 years. And, oh, by the way, last point for you, Al. Josh Harris, I want to make sure everybody understands this. Josh Harris, the owner of the Sixers, is also the owner for the Washington Commanders. Who's a co-owner in his group? Magic. It would happen to be Irvin Magic Johnson. And if you Daryl Morey, I don't know whether it's true or not, but if rumors are correct that Josh Harris told you he was leery on giving Joel Embiid a max extension, and you said, Daryl Morey, it had to be done. If those reports are true, change is coming to Philadelphia. It's just a prediction. It's just a prediction. Go ahead.
I'm laughing at Rudy being like Paul George with his $212 million contract. Like, he should get out there and have a Rudy moment and try to show some spirit. I mean, this is so, it's pathetic that we're here.
Yeah.
Listen, the reason he said that, Stephen A., is because he can't say the truth, which is that, hey guys, hey Philadelphia fans, I know that you don't know this because you're not a professional athlete, but we do have the ability to take 1 hour out of our week to do something like a podcast, and it has nothing to do with what's actually happening on the court. He can't say that, so he did the whole, I'm going to focus and I'm going to do that. And all he's doing, and the only reason he's doing it, is because he is taking away the leverage from the haters that, to Rudy's point, are going to ask about Joel or are going to minimize everything he says by going, you're so worried on podcasting, but what's going on the court? What's happening on the court has less than nothing to do with his podcast. Full freaking stop. This idea that, and I've said this on this show before, this idea that like athletes can't have any distractions in their lives. You've been on good teams, you've been on bad teams. When you were on the good teams, was it because you did absolutely nothing in your personal life and you just ate, slept, and breathed basketball? No. Of course not. It's asinine to think that anything that is happening on that team has to do with him sitting behind a desk and talking on a podcast. That's ridiculous. But I think he needed to do it for that reason, because of the optics. Because this will go down as one of the worst decisions from a front office that we've ever seen. Yes, the decision to give Joel Embiid all of that money, despite the fact he's never been able to show that he could stay on the court consistently, and also the decision to give Paul George all of that money at his big old age of 35 years old, despite the fact that last year was really the only year he showed he could be consistently on the court. And that is why he had to do it, to eliminate all leverage for the haters to criticize them over.
Well, you're right, because I'm a strong advocate of players being able to do what they want to do with their own interests. Why should their talents be monopolized to one interest? I've always been a supporter of that. But optics matter, number one, as you pointed out. But number two, and more importantly, it goes back to what I said in a roundabout way with KD and others. Results matter most. And the reality is none of this would be an issue if the Sixers did not stink. They are awful. Rudy, it's so bad. I've advocated sitting down Tyrese, and he's young. I'm like, why waste his time? Why waste his effort? It's that horrible. And listen, we need to check on Nick Nurse now. I'm famous, as you know, Rudy. Stay off the weed. You know me. I'm an advocate of Nick Nurse getting on some. Go ahead and take some. And if you got to get a drink after, go ahead. You know what? It's that bad. How awful the situation is in Philadelphia. Joel Embiid should sit out for the year. Paul George should not only sit out, get your ass back to California where you are happy, relax, get in shape, get yourself healthy, do what you got to do to get to maximize the last 3 years of your deal with Philadelphia. And Tyrese Maxey, don't abuse this brother and compromise his spirit. The Sixers are trash. They are horrible right now. And to me, everybody needs to sit down, except the young dudes trying to sustain a career in the NBA. But those who are guaranteed with one, take the rest of the season off, come back next year and make amends for the atrocity you gave America this year.
You're going to reward that? You're going to reward how bad they are by saying, go ahead and take the rest of the season off?
Well, it ain't Tyrese Maxey's fault.
They got to
sit in it. It's not Tyrese Maxey's fault. And Paul George and Joel Embiid are hurt, L. They're hurt every time you put them on the court. You're in danger of them getting worse because they're hurt. They're playing hurt. Don't expose them to that. Tyrese, I'm just talking about the spirit. Don't compromise that brother, because that brother's a star. Don't compromise him. My God, our sympathies. We should pray for Tyrese Maxey and what he has been subjected to. This brother's special, and it ain't supposed to be like this, but it is. Y'all know it's the truth. I mean,
I'll give you the final word.
Well, I do think Paul needs to play. I think more than anything, when you're going through something like this and the ball's not going in, you have to play more. You can't just sit at home. I mean, we know what he's capable of. I'm sure he knows what he's capable of, but I think more than anything, he just needs to get his confidence back. He needs to play with Maxey because Maxey is the future of this team. Embiid is going to be Embiid. He's going to be hurt. He's going to, find a way. They're talking about some type of surgery or whatever to get him better. I don't know about that, but I know for Paul to be comfortable, he has to learn how to play with Tyrese Maxey. So that's what I think he should play. I'm not saying all the games. I know the season's a wash. I'm not saying play every game, during the end of the season. If you're not a good team, it's natural to have the younger guys come up and play. But for now, I think Paul needs to be Paul.
Now, when you're injured and approaching 35, I need those last 3 years. I need those last 3 years over 150 million. Validated. And if he got his money, I need his game.
He got him.
And I know Paul George could play.
Right,
second lowest scoring average since the second year in the league. Come on, y'all. Come on, man. Come on, Rudy. You was a scorer. You know what to do. Come on now. 16 points a game for Paul George after the year he had last year.
I do. And I would play.
Ooh, okay.
There it is.
Drop the mic. Coming up, Stephen A., can you